What is going on, everyone? Welcome to your 79th Java tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you guys a real quick way on how to create files using Java. So pretty much if you don't have a file created and we could check for a file using what we learned in the last tutorial, then we usually want to run a program like I'm going to be teaching you today or in this tutorial to create a file. So the first thing we need to do is import java.util and just go ahead and import everything from there. And now let's go ahead, and the first thing we need to do is build a formatter variable. So we need to make a final variable formatter type X, and you can name it whatever you want. I just name everything X because I'm too lazy to type anything that's more than one letter, but I'm going to name mine X. And what this is going to do, a formatter variable pretty much outputs strings to a file, and it's pretty much like printf, but instead of printing to the screen you're printing to a file. So this pretty much outputs a string. And let's go ahead, and I didn't teach you guys about exception handling, but I'm gonna have to do some right now. I'll give you guys the quick one too. You pretty much, in exception handling, you write try, and then you write what do you want to try. And what we want to try is this. We want to set x equal to new formatter, like that. And this is pretty much the same thing as instantiating the variable in the same line, but we want to try to do it down here. And as the constructor for this is pretty much the same thing as putting final formatter x equals new formatter. And again, as a constructor, it takes the path of the file. So what file do we want to output to? Well, I'm going to make a file called like fred.txt. And here's the thing. If there is no file to output to, then it automatically creates a file on your computer for you. So that is how you can create files on your computer using formatter. So again, let's go ahead, and now that we created a file, we want something to show up in the command prompt to tell us that we did it. So system out println, and let's go ahead and put you created a file. So now if we try this and it's successful, then this stuff is going to happen. However, if we get an error, then, and again, I'll be going over this try and catch later, so don't worry too much if you don't understand it. However, if you get an error in this, an error and an exception is the exact same thing. They just had to name it exception because they had to be different. If you get an error, then what do you want to happen? System out println you got an error. So this is pretty much your own way of making custom errors. So you know, if we had an error before, then our program would just start running and we would get a bunch of error messages on our command prompt. But this is a way, if you get an error running your program, that your program doesn't just automatically shut down, and you can actually handle those errors, aka exceptions. Why they name them exceptions, I don't know, it's annoying, but they did it. So I know I didn't teach you guys about try and catch yet, but it's pretty much try this code. If you get an error, do this. Bam, you just learned it in like half a second. So what we're gonna do is, let me show you guys right here. On my computer, if I search in here and I search for Fred, I don't have anything on my computer named Fred or anything like this. But now we're gonna run this program right here, and it says you crested a file, and I mean to put created, but I didn't. Okay, make fun of me, big deal. So did we create a file? I mean, all we're getting is this command prompt right here. I don't believe you created a file, Bucky. Well, let's go ahead in this computer right here and search again, and now let's search for Fred and make sure you only have one D, and bam, look at this. We now have a file created. If we click on the properties, it's created C users Greg workspace Bucky. And that is pretty much right here. And if you're working with Eclipse, you can highlight Bucky, click refresh, and under your JRE systems library you get that Fred text. And I know I just talked real fast and you guys didn't really comprehend that probably, but I should probably slow it down. pretty much what I'm saying, when you create a file, you created it in whatever directory your program ran from. So if you have this Java program right in your hard drive, then it's going to create this text file right on your hard drive. If you run this Java program from a folder called like apples or something, then it's going to create this text file in a folder called apples. And you can also make an absolute path like this. And well, you guys know how to make absolute paths from last tutorial to create that file where you want it, like in a folder or something. But again, to recap one more time, we use this final formatter x variable, and what this did is pretty much stored this formatter. Well, it just pretty much created a variable. And again, the formatter is pretty much a way of putting strings into a file, or pretty much writing stuff in a file. So right now our file is empty, but we're going to be putting stuff in it later. And again, if it couldn't find the file, then it created it, and that's why it created it. And again, if we made an error, then Java makes us handle it in some way. So that's why I need to teach you guys about try and catch. You can catch different types of errors, like if a user tries to divide by 0, or if they are supposed to input a number and they actually input letters or something, then those are the kind of errors you usually want to catch. And you usually want to send them a message like, hey idiot, input a number, not a letter. But for now, we'll just output you got an error. So that is your real quick tutorial on how to create files. We'll actually be clearing this up, and it'll make sense when we create a program. And also your real quick tutorial on exception handling, try and catch. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're a little confused, don't worry, I'll clear things up for you in the next couple tutorials. But again, thank you, don't forget to subscribe, and out.